The biggest party of the summer is upon us once more. Just like the return of the event itself, SummerSlam has served as a platform for a number of iconic WWE superstars to make their comebacks to the squared circle. Over the years, we have had long anticipated and hyped up returns, as well as our share of complete surprises at the biggest party of the summer, all of whom have done their part to shake up the landscape of WWE going forward. Let's take a look at some of them. This is one of the voices of Weird Wrestling Trivia, and here are 10 epic WWE SummerSlam returns. Number 10. Kevin Nash, SummerSlam 2011. Kevin Nash had two notable runs in WWE, first as Diesel from 1993 to 1996, and a second run under his real name from 2002 to 2003. When the former WWE champion made a surprise appearance at the 2011 Royal Rumble, he was met with such a positive reaction from the audience that those behind the scenes decided to bring him back later in the year. Returning in huge fashion, Big Daddy Cool would attack CM Punk after the main event of SummerSlam 2011, costing Punk his newly won WWE title in the process. While this was meant to lead into a feud between Nash and Punk, Nash could not be medically cleared in time for the two to have a match. Instead, the angle segued into a confusing feud between Nash and Triple H, and by the end of the year, Big Sexy was gone from WWE TV again. While his overall run may have been disappointing, Nash's SummerSlam return was, for at least a brief few moments, the talk of the wrestling world. Number 9. Triple H SummerSlam 2007. Things were looking good for Triple H coming into 2007. DX was back together, they were in a hot feud with Rated RKO, and there were definitely big WrestleMania plans in mind for the game. Unfortunately, just 1 week into the new year, Triple H would tear his quad. Suffering the exact same injury as he did in 2001, the game was forced out of action for the first half of the year. Leading up to SummerSlam, Triple H would be taunted by King Booker. Challenging him to a match at SummerSlam 2007, Triple H's comeback was hotly hyped up with vignettes promoting his impending return to action. At the show, Triple H would return to a warm welcome from the audience and showed King Booker exactly why he was called the King of Kings. Number 8. Damage Control, SummerSlam 2022. A 3-for-1 special here. Bayley had an amazing 2021, but her momentum got derailed after suffering an injury that put her on the shelf for 9 months. Over on NXT, Io Shirai had also found success as a former NXT Women's Champion, but was dealing with injuries of her own too. Fellow NXT superstar Dakota Kai was also a successful and popular star on the Black and Yellow brand, but soon found herself released from the company. Come SummerSlam 2022, however, a change in WWE's administration also meant a big shake-up to the women's division. At the show, Bayley, a now renamed Io Sky, and a recently re-signed Dakota Kai all returned at the same time. The trio will be known from that point forward as Damage Control. Number 7. The Undertaker, SummerSlam 2009. By this point, The Undertaker was one of WWE's longest tenured veterans and was known to take some time off every now and then. Taking a hiatus from WWE shortly after WrestleMania 25, the dead man had not been seen on TV for about 4 months. During his absence, SmackDown's world title scene would soon be dominated by the ongoing feud between Jeff Hardy and CM Punk. In the main event of SummerSlam 2009, Punk would defeat Hardy for the title in a ladder match, but as he was reveling in his victory, the Phenom would make his return, attacking Punk and setting his sights on the World Heavyweight title once more. Accomplishing his mission, Undertaker would successfully defeat Punk to capture his final World Heavyweight title a few months later at Hell in a Cell 2009. Number 6. Becky Lynch, SummerSlam 2021. One of the greatest women's wrestlers in WWE history, Becky Lynch had hit another milestone in life in 2020. Announcing that she was pregnant, the man vacated her Raw Women's title and stepped away from the WWE for the foreseeable future. Fast forward over a year later, a hotly anticipated matchup between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks was cancelled after Banks was pulled out of the match at the last minute. This set the stage for Becky Lynch to make a shocking return to the company. More shocking than her return, however, was her win over Belair. Resulting to a dirty cheap shot, Lynch would beat Belair for the SmackDown Women's title in seconds. This return also marked the transition of Lynch's character from the man to the villainous big-time Bex. Number 5. Brock Lesnar, SummerSlam 2021. Sticking with an entry from the 2021 SummerSlam, Brock Lesnar had not been seen in WWE since WrestleMania 36 over a year and a half prior. Losing the WWE Championship to Drew McIntyre at the show, the Beast had quietly entered a real-life retirement from wrestling with little mention of him on TV leading up to his return. Lesnar would shock the audience when he came back with the new bearded and ponytail look, confronting longtime enemy Roman Reigns following his victory over John Cena in that night's main event. The new look also brought a new attitude for the returning superstar. No longer presented as a silent villain, Lesnar was now far more outspoken on the mic and displayed a much more fun-loving personality on TV. The transition from Suplex City to Cowboy Brock was a change welcomed by many fans who had grown bored of Lesnar's previous character. Number 4. Edge, SummerSlam 2019. In April 2011, Edge stunned the WWE Universe with the news that he had to retire from the ring. Suffering from a number of severe neck issues, the Rated R superstar was forced to hang up his boots as any further damage to his neck could have left him permanently disabled. In the following years, Edge would appear occasionally on WWE TV in a number of non-wrestling roles and would not engage in any physicality whatsoever. However, come SummerSlam 2019, Edge would shock the audience once again. Making a surprise appearance in his hometown of Toronto, the WWE Hall of Famer would receive a massive ovation from the local crowd. Confronting Elias during the pre-show, Edge would suddenly hit him with a spear. The crowd erupted at Edge's first spear in over 8 years, and it was clear that a familiar intensity had returned to his eyes. Over the next few months, rumors began to circulate that Edge had been medically cleared to return to the ring. A few months later, he would prove those rumors right. Number 3. Daniel Bryan, SummerSlam 2010. Competing in the first season of NXT, Daniel Bryan was no rookie. A tenured veteran of the industry, Bryan got his main roster start in 2010, joining the Nexus as they laid waste to Monday Night Raw. Unfortunately for him, it seemed like his ride had ended just as it was beginning. Choking ring announcer Justin Roberts with his own tie, Bryan's actions were seen as being too violent for a PG WWE show, and the company was forced to fire him in order to appease their sponsors. Bryan was written out of storylines with the reason given that he regretted his actions. However, WWE had already agreed to bring the American Dragon back to the company as soon as the dust from the choking incident had settled. When Team WWE needed a mystery partner to take on the Nexus at SummerSlam 2010, Bryan was their choice. Eliminating 2 Nexus members and lasting longer in the match than most of his team, this return also marked the beginning of what would soon become one of the greatest runs in WWE history. Number 2. The Undertaker, SummerSlam 1994. Another Undertaker-centric entry, we're going to turn the clock back to a much earlier time in the Phenom's career. At the 1994 Royal Rumble, Undertaker would face Yokozuna in a casket match. During the match, a number of other superstars would assist Yokozuna in beating down the Phenom and placing him into the casket. In what is still one of the most bizarre moments in wrestling history, Undertaker would speak from within the casket before seemingly dying and then ascending to heaven. In reality, Taker simply needed some time off to deal with a back injury. In his absence, the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase would claim that he had gained control of the Undertaker and brought out an imposter to carry out his will. This all came to a head in the main event of SummerSlam 1994, where the real Undertaker would return and vanquish the fake. This return marked many noticeable aesthetic changes for the dead man, such as his use of purple gear, as well as the smoke, blue lighting, and mystical powers that remain staples of his character for the rest of his career. Number 1. Roman Reigns, SummerSlam 2020. Roman Reigns seemed set to recapture the Universal Championship by WrestleMania 36 in 2020. However, the pandemic put an abrupt end to these plans as the big dog would choose to step away from WWE TV due to health concerns after just overcoming leukemia the year prior. Roman would understandably remain at home until it became safer for him to return to work. When he did, however, it would be historic. At SummerSlam 2020, The Fiend would capture the Universal title from Braun Strowman. However, just after the match, Reigns would make a shocking return and brutally assault both men. In the next few weeks, Roman would display a far more vicious and entitled attitude and enlisted the villainous Paul Heyman as his manager. What we thought was the return of the big dog soon became the arrival of the legend we now acknowledge as the Tribal Chief.